Welcome back to Tabletop Titans. This video is sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. At Tabletop Titans, we love to play epic Warhammer 40,000 miniatures games, but that's not all that we love.
Ooh, we've both enjoyed Magic for much of our lives. I know I started in elementary school before I even knew the rules. So what we have today for you is actually pretty special. It's a combination Warhammer 40,000, Magic the Gathering product.
That's amazing. It's two of my favorite things together.
Now this is not a standard product, this is a commander product. And what that means, if you haven't played Magic, is this is one of their more casual ways to play.
Yep.
It's a 100-card singleton. Every card in the deck has to be different than every other card. And so you get different experiences every time you play, and it's a lot of fun.
So we're extremely excited for the new commander set that features Warhammer 40,000 armies. That's 4 new commander boxes. We have the Forces of the Imperium, the Ruinous Powers, the Tyrannid Swarm, and the Necron Dynasties. And as part of this launch, Wizards has sent us a card that we alone are able to preview. We're extremely excited, and it is something that's very near and dear to my heart. Let's take a look.
All right, so here we have the card. This is the Genestealer Patriarch. It is 4 and a blue for a 4/4 Tyrannid.
So cool.
As a type, officially in Magic now. Pretty cool, huh?
That's crazy. That's blowing my mind. Like, childhood Adrian would be just going nuts right now.
It's pretty dope. And it has 2 abilities. It has Genestealer's Kiss and Children of the Cult. They kind of work off of each other. Genestealer's Kiss is whenever the Genestealer Patriarch attacks, you put an infection counter on target creature that defending player controls. And then Children of the Cult, whenever a creature with an infection counter on it dies, you create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a Tyrannid in addition to its other types.
I love this card. It's going to be a ton of fun to play. It has a lot of really interesting implications, not only for itself, but also potentially what the rest of the deck brings. Really cool stuff.
And it's super thematic. I mean, the card art, I saw this card art and I was like, wow, that's a really cool rendition.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've never seen a Patriarch like that before. And then we talked about it.
Yeah, and I was like, this is actually from the Codex. It's a classic piece of art, and it's like this Patriarch in the underhive, under the world, kind of feasting on this thing, and it's this really savage kind of primordial look at the Patriarch.
He's eating brains.
Yeah, it's very gross.
He's actually nibbling on the spinal cord coming out of a brain.
So nasty.
It's pretty cool.
And it's so thematic, right? Because in the lore, the Patriarch is basically sent ahead of the Tyrannid Swarm. Basically, he infiltrates the underbellies of society, both literally and figuratively, and he kind of implants his genetics into the humans. And actually, over generations, you get these Tyrannid human hybrids that sort of infiltrate society and eventually throw this uprising, making way for the arrival of the Tyrannids. So it's kind of appropriate that it kind of plays this longer game. It's about co-opting your opponent's creatures and making them Tyrannid, which also could have interesting things in the game, depending on what this Tyrannid keyword could do.
Yeah, yeah. I think it would be really interesting if we saw buff creatures within Tyrannids that buff other Tyrannids.
Exactly.
Giving other Tyrannids haste or bonuses to their stats. I think that could be really cool.
100%, yeah.
And I think it's really cool. You could say a Patriarch like infects a generation.
Yeah.
And then when that generation dies, they're one step closer to being Tyrannids.
That's right, exactly. Oh, I like it.
It's gonna be fun.
It's very Tyrannidy and very Genestealer, right?
Yeah.
I also frankly love that this card is blue. So the deck is red, green, blue, which is kind of the perfect color combo for Tyrannids. And of course, this guy being all about stealth, he is psychic, so that's kind of implied in the fact that he's blue more than actually represented here. But it's so perfect for the Patriarch.
Yeah, it's pretty excellent. I love that they chose Temur colors for
yeah.
Tyranids. It's like nature reclaiming itself. Tyranids are this giant force of nature, and they're here.
Right.
They're just taking over, and I think it's awesome.
It's going to be great. I assume lots of healing, lots of big trampoline kind of things, and with just the right amount of psychic manipulating blue. So it's a really interesting combination of colors. I can't wait to play this deck. I'm very thankful we were able to get this specific card ahead of time. So thank you to Wizards for sponsoring this video.
Well, now I think it's time for us to take a look at some cards that I'm excited, I hope you are too, to play alongside the Genestealer Patriarch. It brings a lot of interesting strengths to the table, but it doesn't do everything. And so I wanna combo it with some other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
First, I wanna take a look at the Populate mechanic, this idea of like a population control deck.
Yes.
I think if you put a Genestealer Patriarch in a Populate deck, it's gonna do some awesome work. Now, you're gonna have to work a little bit to get blue into Populate colors. Normally that's green and white, sometimes red. But there's some really great Populate cards that go with the Genestealer Patriarch. Populate, of course, is the mechanic where you can create additional copies of creature tokens you already have.
Yeah, exactly.
So this Patriarch's gonna give you some creature tokens. I'm gonna copy those and get the best bang for your buck. So I think we should take a look at Determined Iteration, Second Harvest, Growing Ranks, and Giant Ataphage. These are all cards that let you populate or give you tokens that you want to copy, and I think they're really thematic cards to put alongside a Genestealer Patriarch. Next, I want to take a look at something I've called Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah.
It's this idea of like unblockable, right? There's a lot of cards in the game that can give creatures unblockable. The Patriarch has to attack to get the best usage out of his abilities, right? But he's still a 4/4, and that's big, but it's not necessarily the biggest thing on the table.
No, by no means.
Maybe the player who has the best creatures that you want to make copies of, well, they're bigger than your Patriarch. So you want to make your Patriarch unblockable. There's a lot of ways you can do this. You could use Rogue's Passage and Whisper Silk Cloak, which are both colorless. One's a land and one's an artifact. You could also go with Cloak of Mists, which is a blue enchantment. I mean, who doesn't like to take extra combat steps, right?
Yes!
The next best thing to taking an extra turn is just taking more combat steps in your turn.
Yeah.
And there's not a ton of ways to do this in Magic. It's a very powerful effect.
Yeah.
Most of these are red, but Tyranids have red. So we have no problems putting some of these red, take extra combat step cards in. Things like Marog, Fury of Akum. This card I've always loved, and I thought, why isn't this see more play? Like, it's just such a fun card.
Totally.
We also have Karlach, Fury of Avernus. That's a recent card. And Combat Celebrant. All of these are ways to get extra combat steps, get attacking with your Patriarch more than once in a turn, getting more copies of those infection counters. And finally, there's one sort of archetype of blue play. I know a lot of people don't necessarily like this. I call it Stop Hitting Yourself. It's a deck where you kind of copy other people's stuff, or you steal other people's stuff sometimes, and you'll never be the most powerful deck at the table.
Yeah.
Because you're only as powerful as your opponents.
Hey, look, fair's fair, right?
It's only fair. So in this deck, you would run things like Sakashima the Imposter, could be your commander.
Totally.
It's worth noting the Patriarch's not legendary, so he cannot be your commander.
Okay, fair enough.
But Sakashima the Imposter comes down, and he just copies any creature on the table. Doesn't have to be yours. We could also be looking at cards like Bribery, which you just go into your opponent's deck, and you find any creature you like, and that's yours now. You just put it on the battlefield under your control.
I love it. This is really fun in Commander, of course, because you have so many players and you have so many different decks to kind of choose from. And every game you show up is going to be different, right?
Yeah.
Which makes it really exciting.
It's like, do I want an elf or a Space Marine maybe? Or this guy's playing dragons. I'm probably just going to take a dragon out of his deck.
A Dragon Tyranid sounds amazing.
That would be cool. And with the Patriarch, you can make your own Dragon Tyranid. And finally, we would look at, in this deck archetype, something like a Treachery.
Oh, totally.
Maybe just steal somebody's... It's your creature. It's mine now. This is my creature.
Enough beating around the bush. Let's just steal it.
Yeah.
Those all sound like very fun and interesting combinations. Of course, with Magic, kind of like Warhammer 40,000, part of the game is in just the list building phase, the deck building phase, and that's what keeps us coming back to both of these games time and time again. So I'm excited to play this deck out of the box with the Patriarch, but also expand it further within all the other cards. That's going to be a really fun thing to actually dive into. Hey, Bridger.
What?
You know how we're talking about Tyranid dragons?
Uh-huh.
You know it's basically a Tyranid dragon?
What's that?
This new card, let's check it out! Oh, it's so cool! So Tyranid Harridan, very excited to be able to show you guys a second brand new card. This guy's awesome.
It's so big, such high impact. It's a 6-mana 4/4 Tyranid. That's 4, a green, and a blue. It has flying, Ward 4.
Oh, Ward 4.
Yep.
Not hexproof, but Ward 4.
Might as well be hexproof.
Yeah.
And it's got the Shrieking Gargoyles ability, so whenever it or another Tyranid you control deals combat damage to a player, you get a 1/1 blue Tyranid Gargoyle creature token flying. That means every turn you swing in with your little gargoyles that have flying, you're gonna get more gargoyles.
That's amazing.
They're multiplying.
Yeah, but they're multiplying. They're making all those little gargoyle babies. We were talking about things you can do with the Patriarch earlier, as far as what does the Tyranid keyword let you do. Well, now we're seeing it. That would be, you can just spiral out of control.
Yeah,
right?
I'm really hoping to see from the other reveals some cards that make Tyranids even bigger. So your little 1/1 baby gargoyles,
buff them up,
get huge.
Oh yeah,
get yoked.
And also, you know, we talked about things like the Populate would be amazing with this, obviously. But I also like it because it's not too much in my opinion, right? It's still six mana. It's only a 4/4 with flying. It's this ability that is powerful, but also takes some time to build up. So it's not like one and done, play it, crazy game-changing move. It's like, here's the thing, your opponents get a chance to respond. So it's like very flavorful. It is strong, but it's not out of hand.
Exactly.
Right?
It's going to be exciting to play with these. I'm really hoping to get my hands on these decks, get some games in. I'm excited to play.
I cannot wait.
And with that, just one more time, we want to thank Wizards for sponsoring this video.
That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for hanging out. We'll catch you next time on the Tabletop.
Bye.